Today, we're going to talk about a small, landlocked Himalayan nation with a resource so powerful it's at the center of a high-stakes game between two of the world's biggest powers. We're talking about Nepal. It's thousands of rivers and its absolutely immense hydropower potential.
Okay, let's just start with one number because it really sets the stage for everything. 83,000 megawatts. That's the theoretical hydropower potential that's just coursing through Nepal's rivers. To give you a sense of scale, that's enough energy to power tens of millions of homes. It is a staggering figure, a natural treasure that has put Nepal right at the heart of South Asia's energy future.
But here's where the story gets really interesting. Look at the gap between what's possible and what's actually happening. You've got this massive potential of 83,000 megawatts, but Nepal's current production, it's only about 2,800 megawatts. Now, that huge difference isn't just a number on a chart. It represents one of the biggest economic and geopolitical opportunities in the entire region. This vast resource is almost completely untapped.
And this is where you start to see that this isn't just about electricity. For Nepal, this is a strategic aim. It's about turning its 6,000 rivers from, just simple waterways into tools of economic statecraft, a way to build wealth, gain influence, and carefully navigate its tricky position sandwiched between two regional giants.
So who are the main players in this geopolitical chess match? Well, on one side of the board, you have India, and on the other, China. Both of them have huge energy needs and deep strategic interests in Nepal. But, and this is key, they are playing the game in very, very different ways.
Let's break down their rules, shall we? India, for its part, is and has always been the primary customer. I mean, with deep historical and cultural ties, it's just the natural market for Nepal's power. But it's also a strategic gatekeeper. It literally controls the only viable land routes for energy exports. Now, China, on the other hand, is playing the role of the primary investor. Through its Belt and Road Initiative, it offers the funding and the know-how, focusing on building the massive infrastructure that could, one day, power all of Nepal's ambitions.
This brings us to a really critical strategic move by India. To counter China's growing influence, India put a policy in place. It refuses to buy any electricity from any hydropower project in Nepal that's financed or built by Chinese companies. This single move, well, it effectively forces Nepal to choose its partners very, very carefully. It turns every single new project into a major geopolitical decision.
But the game board is changing. India and China aren't the only players anymore. A new piece has just been moved, and it's opening up a whole new set of possibilities for Nepal. And that new player? It's Bangladesh. With its own ambitious clean energy goals and a fast-growing economy, Bangladesh has emerged as a really serious and credible customer for Nepal's hydropower. And this is a total game changer. For the first time, Nepal has a clear path to diversify its energy exports and maybe, just maybe, reduce its complete dependence on a single buyer.
And this situation just perfectly illustrates the complex geopolitics of the region. See, for Nepal to sell its power to Bangladesh, it has to go through India. The deal is a three-way agreement. Nepal makes the power, Bangladesh buys it, but India's transmission grid is the essential link that makes the whole thing possible. So this reinforces India's role as the indispensable middleman, even as Nepal is trying to find new partners.
But how does all this abstract strategy actually translate into real, concrete deals? Well, with these massive agreements come some pretty significant doubts and the very real risk of creating new dependencies.
And believe me, the deals are massive. In early 2024, Nepal and India signed a landmark 25-year agreement for Nepal to export 10,000 megawatts of electricity to India over the next decade. This is a monumental step. It cements an energy partnership for the long haul and gives Nepal a secure market for a huge chunk of its future production.
And yet, inside Nepal, this deepening relationship is being met with some serious concern. This quote from an expert really captures a widespread fear. The fear that becoming entirely dependent on India as an export market could lead to a new form of economic colonization, where Nepal's most valuable resource ends up benefiting its neighbor way more than its own people. And projects like the massive 900-megawatt Arun 3, they perfectly illustrate these trade-offs. On one side, you have these enormous opportunities, economic growth, job creation. But on the other, you have significant challenges, like major environmental impacts and displacing local communities. Every single big project is a really high-stakes bet.
And the challenges don't stop there. Nepal also has to overcome its own internal hurdles. Its grid infrastructure is still underdeveloped, political instability often leads to inconsistent policies, and its Himalayan geography makes it super vulnerable to climate change impacts, like floods and glacial melt.
And all of this is playing out against the backdrop of the complex regional geopolitics we've been talking about.
So, where does all of this leave Nepal? Well, it means Nepal is performing one of the most delicate and high-stakes balancing acts in international relations today. It's a real test of its diplomacy, its economic planning, and its national resilience.
When you get right down to it, hydropower is so much more than just a commodity for Nepal. It's a foreign policy tool to manage its relationships with India and China. It's a potential engine for economic growth to lift its people out of poverty. And it's a strategic opportunity to secure its status as a key energy player in South Asia. Which leaves us with this one final critical question. Will Nepal succeed in navigating these powerful forces to turn its immense water resources into true economic and political sovereignty? Or will it just find itself caught in the currents of a much larger geopolitical game, controlled by the giants on its borders? The answer to that, well, it's going to shape the future of the entire region.